Listen, you know what time it is. It's time for another episode of your favorite new podcast entitled We Hate You in an Actor. All right, now gather around one more time. This is We Hate You Internet. It is a podcast designed to bring awareness of the problematic effects of the internet on our lives, as well as celebrate the beautiful simplicity of our humanity, okay? I'm Wilfred Hamilton, the host, or your host, sitting alongside me, you know what I'm saying? She's black, blue, black, you know what I'm saying? That was the way she coordinated it. I saw her walk in, from into the building today. We're back in Panorama Brand Studios once again. If you recognize the set, you know what I'm saying? Houston's premier party. I'm sorry, I'm being silly. Houston's premier podcast studio. Anyway, I watched as she walked in from the window. You know, the hair was blowing in the wind. You know what I'm saying? I could tell. I said, "Oh, she thinks she's cute today." You know her. Her name is
Clara Aguirre.
Clara Aguirre is in the building. All jokes aside, laughter and all that jazz. We want to just quickly say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all those who have followed and shown support throughout this process. We also want to continue to encourage those that are listening to join the movement and the challenge. We are on our road to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We want to ask that you help us do that by simply going and subscribing and helping us reach our goals. You know what I'm saying? That's the play. 2024, that's what we're trying to do. You know, so we pumping it on YouTube. Anyway, today's topic, right? Since we got all that laughing and giggling out of the way, we're gonna be talking about rage, anger. You know, I think there's no secret that we live in a angry society, and we wanted to kind of unpack some of that. You know what I mean? Anger is a natural emotion. It's something that's a part of being a human being. You know, there are things in your life that upset you, and I think that you have three groups or three categories of anger, right? You have those who suppress, you know what I mean, and just run away from anger altogether. They want to be nice people and all this kind of stuff. And it's like you can't hide from the world. You know what I mean? Then you have people that are on the other end of the spectrum who are ragers. You know what I mean? Like every little thing just sends them into this whirlwind of like blind rage and anger. That's unhealthy. You know what I'm saying? And it's destructive. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then, of course, we're going to just talk about those who are able to naturally process their anger in a way that's I would say productive. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that. We'll talk about that some more also. So that's we're going to be kind of hovering around that. If you're listening and you want to take the opportunity, or you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and type "Don't make me angry" in the comment section, like your boy the Hulk. Just let us know you're tuned in, whether you're locked in with us this afternoon. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it. You have anything you want to add on top of that makes sense to you, what I just said?
Yeah, no, I like how you broke that down, because I feel like we do have an angry society, and I think that we can definitely see how we have different people who just process their anger in different ways.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to see how people vocalize their anger now, because we have the ability to kind of scan it with the internet. You get what I'm saying? Like, we can see it in videos and movements, communities, comment sections. That's a big one. So just being able to not just talk about it, but see it visually, like, and it's all in this organized platform, or on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, but you see it all the time. And it's really interesting to see how these feelings of anger have affected these very, very different groups in different ways. But it kind of comes down to like the same thing that's happening, the same process. They kind of like, I don't want to speak on any specific group yet or right now, but you have people who they feel maybe disrespected, maybe ignored, neglected, maybe it's a result of them feeling robbed of something, and they feel that, and then they vocalize it and begin movements And I think sometimes it kind of goes back to what we talked about with hate speech in our previous episode. Is it hate speech or is it free speech? I think it's kind of similar in a way. If you can't understand where these ideas are rooted in, I think it can become somewhat dangerous, you know, because you have people who, for example, I feel like I saw this a lot with what was happening with like the whole Andrew Tate movement. To be quite honest with you, I have never seen a full video of his at all. Okay. So I can't speak on it because I don't want to sound ignorant. I have not seen a full video of his, but I have
full transparency. Full transparency.
I've seen clips, I've heard things, and I've seen his audience. And on that alone, I feel like I can kind of get an idea of some things. And I think that the reason this hyper-masculine man kind of affected his audience the way he did is maybe because they don't feel that way, you know?
What do you mean? Feel what way?
Like, they kind of feel like maybe their masculinity is robbed of them. Maybe they feel intimidated. Maybe they feel intimidated by other women. You know, I think that right there is something that is obvious, because I'm not saying his whole audience is that way at all. Because at the end of the day, you can like what you like, and that's it. It doesn't define you completely, you know? You are a human being. There's so many different things about you that make you who you are, right? But when you see like these young kids, I saw this video of these like 3 kids. There's another influencer. I can't remember his name, but he's a part of that like community, that like masculine like community, masculine bro group.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I just can't remember his name at the moment, but
the guy that runs a Fresh and Fit
no, he's been on there. He's been on there, yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Well, there was these kids, and they were kids, like they couldn't have been older than 13. They go up to them, and he's like, say F the women, F the women. And and he's like, whoa, what? Yeah. And he was surprised. But again, I'm not saying, that might not even be what he's saying, but it touches on something within those kids, within those people. And I think that's why it's really important to, again, before you go and start examining anyone else, you should examine yourself first. Why does this bother you? Why is this something that you feel so passionate about? Because, you know, passions change all the time. There might be some things that are fundamentally true to you, but you really have to ask yourself this, because if not, I feel like you will be swept away with anger. You know?
I think you make some really good points. I think that just touching on the Andrew Tate thing, I've listened to some of his stuff. I think that some of the stuff that he has to say has some value. I think that it appeals to people in the way that it does, because a lot of men feel like there's an attack on masculinity overall in society. There isn't like, you have a space where you're trying to make male and female the same, and in that process, you're trying to soften up society to make everybody feel comfortable. That's where you get all like the politically correct stuff, and like you can't say anything. Oh, you know, you want to make everybody comfortable. You know, that's more, you know, of a softer feminine approach to things. And I think that overall, like, that's the issue that people feel like, well, then a person being hard like a man, there's no space for that, and so then you have a demographic that is formed because of that. You know what I mean?
But kind of, I really want to touch on something you're mentioning, because I think it's not only applicable in this specific instant with men, because we see that with the feminists too, feminist movements. You have women who are enraged with the fact that they feel as though their independence has been taken away from them in the past. Their rights are infringed upon. It's not, what I want to highlight more is the fact that it's kind of like, in a way, the people are trying to level it out, and they do so with anger. Because, yeah, you're right. I think that that is what happens with men in that specific instance, with that specific crowd, that people, that community. But you see that too with so many other people. Like I said, with the feminist group as well, people will, get upset with the fact that some women, like the Boss Babes or whatever, they constantly highlight the fact that I can do it on my own. I can do everything on my own. I can, but that's because, again, when you have a group of people who feel as though that's been taken from them, they will do everything they can to take it back,
The crazy thing about it, and this was kind of the point I was going to kind of get back to as far as when we, the discussion, emotions are contagious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Groupthink is a thing. People's emotions, like if you're in a room, or if you watch something, you watch a sad scene and somebody is crying, then other people will start crying. If you have somebody where somebody's laughing hysterically, then other people start laughing. Because emotions can be contagious. You know what I mean? And I think that emotion specifically in our society is running rampant. Everybody wants something to be angry about.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to fit into this society where everybody complains. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, I think it's because, especially in like America or in any other like first world country, we've gotten so comfortable and fat and gross with luxury and comfort that we don't know how to appreciate the things that we have. We have so much. You don't know how to appreciate and be satisfied. And so that leads you for people to be ungrateful and be unhappy. Because then it's like I said, I talked about this before. It's like a spoiled child. They can have 100 toys, but if they don't have the one that they want, then they just throw a fit, and they're unhappy. It's because you have so much. But when you only have one toy, you can be happy with that. If that's all you got, and you say, oh, I remember I was talking to a coworker of mine, and she's from Cameroon. And she was like talking about how much a dollar is worth as far as the conversion in Cameroon is in like francs, I think, or it's like some type of derivative for the franc. They're occupied by France. So anyway, and she was just saying like, if you get a little girl over there, a doll, like they'll just thank you forever. They'd be so happy about, oh, I got a little doll, like one little doll. They would just be like eternally grateful, so happy about that. And it's like, you think about that. If you get a person a little girl a doll for Christmas in America, they'd be like, you know what I'm saying?
I want an iPhone.
Exactly.
Or
like, what is this?
Like they're into that right now.
Yes, exactly.
Things like that.
But that just shows, like, but that's one of the issues with humans. Period. Is that when something becomes common to you, like it loses its value, and that wreaks havoc in people's lives in so many different levels. I mean, so many different aspects. Their relationships. That's why people get divorced and stuff so easy, because they don't appreciate, like, their parents, their relationship with, like, people, they have so much and so much good that they just, good things become common and they no longer have value to you. So you always searching and looking, but there is this desire to complain. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to get too far in the weeds with this discussion, but I really want to touch on all of that, because that emotion is contagious and it's really running rampant in the comment sections. You know what I mean? Like, you read the comments on stuff, and it's always going to turn into some type of like negative thing. And
or
then,
arguments.
Yeah, and then it turns into arguments, and then people pick sides in those arguments, and then it just like continues to like, it just becomes this obsession. You know what I'm saying? That's why you're going back to like the masculinity, the femininity.
Both.
Exactly. And any kind of like counterpoints.
Yeah.
You're going to have these sides, and then it's just like you have this war. And like people, and it's crazy because people will be involved in a battle and get caught in the frenzy and not even realize what they're fighting for.
Yes, they
You know what I mean?
forget. Yeah.
Or sometimes they just get caught in a rush in the mob. They just see a mob walking by,
and
you get caught in
sweeps them away.
And they just
they're lost.
Exactly,
They're
they get lost in it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about just like rage and anger. We talked about the 3 ways that those things are expressed.
Ooh, but like I kind of want to.
Come on.
There's something that you said that I think is so good. Like, okay, so you mentioned the fact that if you were to get something for a little girl, in a situation who may not be as in a good situation economically, right? They're not as appreciative. I think, man, okay, so I don't know if this can be open a whole can of worms, but if we live in a society now where we have more than the kings of the past, right? Like if you wanted Chinese food, you don't have to go and send your Kingsman or whatever to go and find a chef who knows how to make, like, you can literally go up the street and get this food and so on and so forth. Like you have access to so much. And I think that sometimes in itself can be the reason why people feel rage.
Yeah.
Like now, what is there to look forward to? It's the same thing. When people work hard for something, you're more likely to feel happy, grateful, appreciative for what you earned. Whereas if someone is given something, it is not the same thing. And isn't it interesting how that, what you would think is kind of like a positive thing, can actually hurt a human. It can actually be very bad for a human being. And I think that's kind of where a lot of, again, I don't want to like open a whole thing, but I think that's where there's a lot of disconnect with certain cultures. You know what I mean? Because these things are easy to sweep under the rug. It's easy to say, oh, you got money, so, you know, what do you have to be?
Yeah.
But then, again, certain cultures, mass shootings, there's this thing called family annihilation that is more likely to happen, you know.
Demographics.
Yes, and I'm not trying to make it this, position it this way at all, but I just want to really highlight the fact that I think it's interesting how something that some people will consider positive, oh, well, you know, you have everything. Why do you feel angry? You have all that you need. You have roof over your head, food. You have, why are you so angry? They probably don't even know.
Yeah. It's a really interesting thing because people don't, and I think it comes to like the point, like the main point that I would love to make is that like all of this stuff is mental. Yeah. All of this stuff comes from your thoughts. And that's why it's so important that you take the time to process your thoughts, process your feelings.
Yes.
Because if left unchecked, then they will manifest themselves in like crazy ways. You see
Ugly
what I'm saying?
ways.
I remember, story time. I remember I was in school. It was this guy, he was kind of like what you would quote unquote call a nerd. And like real quiet, you know what I mean? Like, and people were making fun of him. You know, people like make fun of him all the time, and he just kind of like wouldn't say nothing, just kind of move along. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, I was a part of this mob.
Oh no!
Okay. So okay, don't judge me, man. Don't judge. You know, back in the, in my family, we grow up, we make fun of each other all the time. Like that's what we do. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not meant to be malicious. It's just that's how we get along. We make fun of each other, and like it's funny. And it took me a long time growing up to realize that other people like don't function like that.
Yeah.
So when I grew up, I make fun of people. It's just because it's funny. So I noticed something about somebody's appearance or whatever. Like you pointed out because it's funny, and I'm not trying to be malicious. It's just funny. You know what I'm saying?
It's like being playful in a way.
Indeed, but I didn't realize, and I'd be like, man, cats, yeah, you sorry, you this. If a person like got offended about it, like, but you so sensitive about it, you know what I mean? But I had to understand, like, everybody don't process that the same way.
That's how my family was too.
Yeah,
funny. That's
so
how they
people
are.
like, he's a bully. You know what I'm saying? But I would try to be no bully. It was just, I cared about people. I was nice to people. If I knew somebody was like hurt or their feelings hurt, I'd be, like I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. It was just funny.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Your knees are ashy. Like, I noticed that your knees were ashy. I point out the fact that your knees are
need lotion.
indeed, yes, they are quite parched. I can't get a fit, get all ruffled about it. Anyway, I guess the guy just had enough that day, and he stood up and he just grabbed my face, like, ah! You know what I'm saying? And I was just kind of looking like, what are you doing? It didn't hurt it. It was just like, but in that moment, right? I learned something. Yeah. I just learned like how anger, it can like bubble over and it just comes out, right? And like he didn't process like his attack. It was just he just
it just exploded. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you think about like mass shootings and like people get picked on, so like it just it just explode. But and that's the one point I really want to make about unprocessed anger, right? Like it can put you, and I'm I've been here before, and I'm thankful to God that like I was able to like come out of it. But a lot of people can find themselves in that place, and people know what I'm talking about, where you just kind of like go blind, like you just kind of like check out, and you just be like just so enraged that you
get swallowed. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like you're liable to do anything in that state of mind. But it is extreme. It is an extremely dangerous place to be. Some people like to be there, and that is very dangerous. You have some emotional issues that you have not processed, you haven't dealt with, and like they take you to this place where like you black out and like you're just doing and you ain't thinking.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that you wake up and you find yourself killed somebody and then you're gonna go to jail. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a really sad and like dangerous and crazy.
It's an ugly place to be.
It really, and like I said, some people like to be in that place.
Yeah.
Because it helps them let off some of the steam that they've been building up.
Or the trauma, because I also think about, not to just talk about mass shootings, but like domestic abusers, that will beat their wives or beat their husbands. Like, why? Why do you feel so angry that you are gonna hurt the person that you claim to love? Yeah. And it's never just one time. Never. It's repeated, What is it about that you keep going to, like, and I think that touches on that. Exactly.
It is. And like, so like, I think that like you can, like I said, we talked about these 3 categories. Excuse me. Say human. It's like, it's important to understand that you don't have to be afraid of anger. Sometimes people like are so afraid of the anger that they feel that they just like suppress it.
Yeah, they shove it or they hide it.
Exactly. That's not helping.
Worse. That's the worst thing
Because then that takes you to the other end.
Yes.
Where finally you just pop and now you just lose it. You know what I'm saying? And like you destroy everything. Like you can destroy your whole life in an instant.
That's true.
Because you find yourself in that place.
I heard this quote. I really want to add to what you're saying.
Her Highness the Queen of Quotes has returned.
It's a quick one, but and I don't want to misquote it, but it's something along the lines of like, anger is your inner self trying to establish a boundary. You get what I'm saying? So if you feel angry, you feel like it's protective. It's not necessarily that it's a negative emotion. It's just you feel as though there's something that needs to be protected. And I think that's important for someone who maybe it's hard for them to say, hey, that makes me upset. Yeah. I don't like that. Like that makes me angry. Mm-hmm. Someone who can't say that, who struggles with confrontation, who struggles with just or processing, it's okay. But just, come back to the fact that it's important for you to identify these things and even vocalize it,
Absolutely.
That can make a big difference.
Absolutely. I mean, there's one thing that I would say, as we start trying to go toward the end of this conversation, is that like anger is natural.
Yeah.
To be angry is to be human.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be afraid to be angry. Like, I think the way you put it was perfect. You know what I mean? Like, it helps for you to set the boundaries in your life, to have healthy relationships, healthy interactions with the world around you.
Yeah.
I mean, things that rub you the wrong way, so then you need to process, why does that bother me so much?
Yeah.
Why does it make me so angry? You got go into the recesses of your mind and go look at this stuff, try to figure it out.
Go through the file cabinet.
Yeah. This is what happened.
Found it.
Yeah, really. In 2002. You know what I'm saying? This is what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I said, so you shouldn't be afraid or like.
Or feel ashamed, even.
Exactly, of being angry. It's natural. You need to have a space to be able to process and deal with that anger. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's just like okay, you into some type of combat training, sports, whatever, like an outlet to be able to deal with some of those emotions. Safely, exactly. Like, that's the thing. And speaking of sidebar, story time. I didn't like football growing up. You know what I'm saying? I was actually pretty decent at it. Uh-huh. But, I'm not, like, I didn't have, like, issues like that. But then I noticed, like, I know some people play football. It's like they get excited when they hurt somebody, and I was like, man, I don't even know. Cat got mom and daddy issues. Cat on the football field crying, talking about you never loved me, and that cat want to try to come hit me and knock my helmet off. Like, no, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Cat try to hurt me on purpose.
Yeah.
And within the guides of the game, I'm like, man, no, thank you. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. I ain't got that kind of issues.
Yeah.
But but anyway, it's important that you process your feelings. Because if you don't, then they'll be stored, they'll build up, and just like a pressure cooker, it'll pop. And when it pops, like everything inside just comes out in a mess, like a volcano.
And it can hurt people.
And like it's gonna destroy. That's what's gonna happen. And so take the time to do the hard work. And sometimes processing your feelings and processing your thoughts can be difficult. You know what I mean? Because like that anger you may find is rooted in sadness. And the sadness comes from something that happened to you. Yeah. And you don't want to face that.
Or to someone you love.
Exactly. And so, but it's important for you to take the time to deal with those things, because if not, because they don't go away just because you don't deal with them. They'll just, like water, it's always going to find its way, it's going to find a crack. It's going to find its way to the surface. And then it's going to bust out. You know what I'm saying? It can't be contained. You know what I mean? Be mindful of your thoughts. Be mindful of your words. Be mindful, even when you're interacting on the internet, for that matter. Like, be mindful of what you say in the comment sections. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can express your thoughts and your feelings. You may not always agree with other people. That's fine. You know what I mean? But you can still be respectful about the things that you say. You should be mindful about the things that you have in your life. We talked about this being thankful in one of the episodes. That is super important. You know what I mean? To take the time to be grateful for the thing, because you will find, like I said, all these things, all emotions come from thoughts. That's where they come from. And so if you monitor your thoughts, then you monitor your emotions. Your emotions will often dictate your actions. So it starts with your thoughts. If you can take the time to process your thoughts, then you can have a better control over your actions, and your actions will ultimately dictate your outcome. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so it starts with the thoughts. If you process your thoughts, learning how to have healthy anger, learning how to be grateful and appreciative for the good things you have in your life, so that you don't feel so slighted in life and you don't feel like, oh man, nothing ever good happens to me, and like all this kind of mess that like people are carrying around with them. And it's just this overall irritation that we have in our society. Everything rubs me the wrong way. It's just this constant sense of like complaining and like just, like I say, irritated. That's the way, I think that's the way, the best way to describe our society right now. It's just like a constant state of irritation, and every little thing just rub you. It's like having a sore on your arm. Everything you wear, it just rub against it. It's like and it's just like, you know what I mean? Like you wish you could take all your clothes off, but you go to jail, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have like chicken pox or a rash or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You take off all your clothes for relief, but you go to jail and stuff like that.
I really like that. I think that was beautifully said, Hamilton. I think you will be a better person because of it. Like if people really took the time to just give them, even if it's hard, you will thank yourself later, and the people around you will thank you later.
Definitely. That's our show for today. We're gonna wrap this thing up. I always want to encourage you, like we just did. Process your feelings, process your thoughts, do the work. It can be difficult, but it's good for you. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to be angry, but just be angry in a healthy way. That's the key. You know what I mean? Process it, move forward, and then put a smile back on your face and keep rolling, because there's plenty in life to be happy about. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We want to leave you like we always do, asking that you stay safe.
Stay blessed.
And please, stay human. We out.